When her children walked away, pain became her teacher, and destiny turned her into the woman they now begged to see. Rain tapped gently on the wide glass window as Lona sat in the quiet lounge of the community center, her hands wrapped around a warm cup of tea. People greeted her with respect now. Mama Lona, Madam Lona, Ma. Good afternoon. She nodded and smiled, but inside her heart still carried one unanswered ache. Her phone lay face down on the table, vibrating every few minutes with messages she refused to open. They are calling again. The receptionist, a young man named Suri, said softly from the desk. Should I tell them you're in a meeting? Lona looked at him, her eyes calm but distant. No, she replied, her voice steady. Just tell them I heard. Suri hesitated. Mama, they say it is urgent. They say they are your children. Lona breathed in slowly, the past rising like smoke in her chest. Yes, she murmured. I know who they are. Before she was Madam Lona to strangers, she was just Lona, the tired woman in a small broken house, running between market stalls and home to feed 3 growing children. Back then, nobody begged to see her. They shouted her name when food was late. Her eldest son, Rico, would slam the door and complain, "Why is our life always like this? Other people's mothers do better." Her second child, a daughter named Miri, would hiss under her breath, "Maybe if she wasn't so slow, we would not be suffering." Only the youngest, a quiet boy named Taro, would sit beside her at night and massage her tired feet. "Mama, don't listen to them," he would whisper. "One day things will be better." Lona would stroke his hair and force a smile. "I pray so, my son. I truly pray so." Lona's husband had left when Taro was still a baby. One hot afternoon, he packed a small bag, refused to meet her eyes, and said, "I cannot live in this kind of struggle. I need a woman who understands future, not just survival." Lona had stood in the doorway, her heart breaking but her voice soft. "And your children? What about them?" He did not even look back. "They will understand when they grow. I cannot die poor." The door closed, and that sound lived in her chest for years. From then on, every early morning started with her pushing a wooden wheelbarrow, selling vegetables, firewood, and anything she could carry. She returned home late, fingers trembling from exhaustion. Yet when the children shouted, "Mama, we're hungry," she swallowed her tears and smiled. "Food is ready, my darlings." The town where they lived was small, but people's tongues were long. Other children mocked Rico and Miri. "Your father ran away," they sang. "Your mother is always in the sun, like a mad woman." One evening, Rico came home with fists clenched. "I am tired of being poor," he shouted, kicking the stool. "Everyone laughs at us. Do you even think of our future, Mama?" Lona dropped the bowl she was washing. "Rico, I work from morning till night. What else do you want me to do?" His eyes flashed with bitterness. "Maybe if you were smarter. Maybe if you married better. Other mothers are opening shops, owning houses. Look at us." Miri folded her arms and added, "We always wear old clothes. People think we are beggars." Lona's chest tightened, but she only said, "My children, please. I am trying." There were tender moments too, small islands in a rough sea. On some nights when sales were good, Lona bought a little meat and fried it slowly, filling the house with a smell that made their stomachs sing. Taro would dance around the table, clapping his hands. "Mama is the best," he would say. Miri's face would soften. "Thank you, Mama," she'd whisper, leaning her head briefly on Lona's shoulder. But as they grew older, those soft moments became rare. Rico started spending more time with boys who wore fake gold chains and talked loudly about quick money and big life in the city. Miri became obsessed with social media, staring at flashy videos of influencers. "Look at their houses," she would sigh. "Look at their cars." Each image pushed her further away from the woman who came home every night smelling of dust and sweat. The real fracture came the year Lona fell sick. It started with a stubborn cough. At first, she hid it, turning her head away when she coughed at the market. "It is nothing," she told Taro when he noticed. But soon the cough came with fever, and her legs felt heavy. One evening, on her way back from the market, The world tilted. She dropped her basket, slumped by the roadside, and everything went black. When she woke, she was in a hospital bed, the bright light burning her eyes. A nurse hovered over her. "Mama, you fainted," the nurse said. "You have been overworking yourself. Your blood pressure is high, and your body is tired." Lona tried to sit up. "My children," she whispered. "Where are my children?" Rico arrived first, his face stiff, his shirt buttoned high like he was attending an interview, not visiting his sick mother. Miri followed behind, her phone in her hand. Taro ran in last, eyes red from crying. "Mama," he cried, grabbing her hand. "How are you?" Lona forced a weak smile. "I am fine, my son. It is just small tiredness." The doctor walked in and cleared his throat. "Madam, your case is not small. You need rest, good food, and probably some time away from stress. If you continue like this, it will be dangerous." Rico's jaw tightened. "Time away? Who will pay the bills?" he muttered. Miri rolled her eyes. "Everything is always drama," she said under her breath. Taro looked between them, hurt flickering across his face. "She's our mother," he said quietly. "We will find a way." Days turned into weeks. The bills grew like wild grass. Rico began to visit less. "Work is too much," he would say whenever Taro called. Miri complained that the hospital smelled and made her anxious. Only Taro came daily, bringing small fruits, stories, and quiet prayers. One afternoon, Lona overheard a conversation outside her room. Rico's voice was hard. "We cannot keep paying like this. She has no savings. We have our own lives." Miri replied, "Exactly. I want to move to the city. I can't be stuck here because of her. She chose this small life, not us." Taro's voice shook. "But she is our mother. You can't talk like that." There was a pause. Then Rico responded coldly. "You love her so much? Then you stay with her. I am done." Those words cut deeper than any illness. The decision was not announced to Lona directly. It came like a slow storm. First, Miri stopped visiting altogether. When Lona asked the nurse, "Has my daughter come?" the nurse would smile sadly and say, "Maybe tomorrow, Mama." Then Rico began to send small money through Taro with messages like, "This is the last for now," or "Tell her she should plan." One evening, Taro sat down beside Lona and held her hand, his eyes heavy with something unsaid. "Mama," he began. "Doctor says you can be discharged soon," but Lona looked at him. "But what, my son?" Tears gathered in his eyes. "Rico says we can't take you back to the house. He says it is too much stress. He says you should stay in the village with Uncle Darrow." Lona stared at him, feeling the world move away from under her feet. "They want to send me away?" she asked quietly. Taro shook his head quickly. "No, Mama, not like that. Just for some time. Until things are better." Lona's lips trembled. "Did Miri say anything?" Taro swallowed. She said she can't sacrifice her future. She wants to travel. She said she is not ready to be held down." A long silence sat between them. Lona looked at the ceiling, blinking fast. "So," she whispered, "the children I carried on this back, the children I fed when I had nothing, now believe I am a burden." Taro broke down in tears. "Mama, I don't agree with them. I will visit you. I promise." She gently wiped his face. "Do not cry, my son. Life is only showing me what was always inside their hearts." When Lona was discharged, she did not return to her small town house. She found herself in a quiet village, standing in front of an old mud family compound that smelled of dust and forgotten stories. Uncle Darrow, her late father's cousin, welcomed her with a lazy smile. "You can manage the small room at the back," he said, scratching his belly. "Your children sent some money. They say you will stay here and rest." Lona nodded, clutching her small bag of clothes. "Thank you, Uncle," she said. "I will not disturb you." That night, as crickets sang outside, she sat on the thin mattress and stared at the cracked ceiling. Her phone was silent. No call from Rico. No message from Miri. She whispered into the dark, So this is it, Lona. They have abandoned you. Her chest ached in a way no medicine could touch. The days in the village were slow and heavy. Lona watched other families from the doorway, children running to greet their mothers, grandchildren hugging wrinkled arms. Sometimes she saw women her age sitting under trees while their daughters braided their hair. She turned her face away whenever envy rose in her heart. "Forgive me, God," she would murmur. "I am trying not to hate my own children." One afternoon, Uncle Darrow's wife, Kira, spoke plainly. "Your children sent message," she said. "They say money is tight. They will not be sending anything for a while." Lona nodded slowly. "Did they say how they are?" Kira shrugged. "City children are always fine. They remember you when they need something." The words were harsh, but Lona knew they carried some truth. That night, she knelt by the bed. "If this is how my story ends," she prayed, "give me strength to accept it." But her story did not end there. One morning, as she swept the compound, she heard a car stop outside the gate. A woman's gentle voice called out, "Hello? Is anyone home?" Lona opened the gate and saw a neatly dressed lady holding a box. "Good morning, Ma," the lady said with a bright but respectful smile. "My name is Zara. We're doing a community outreach. We brought some food items for elders in the village." Lona blinked in surprise. For me?" Zara nodded. "Yes, Ma. Someone listed this compound." She placed the box in Lona's hands, rice, beans, oil, and soap. "Can I sit with you for a few minutes?" Zara asked. Lona hesitated, then smiled faintly. "The bench is there," she said. "You are welcome." They sat under the small mango tree in the yard. Zara asked gentle questions, not the sharp, curious kind. "How are you feeling these days, Ma? Do you have people checking on you?" Lona laughed weakly. "People," she repeated. "I have the birds and the goats. They do not talk much, but they are faithful." Zara smiled sadly. "What about your children?" At that, Lona's face changed slightly, like a door closing. "They are alive," she said. "That is all I can say." Zara did not push. After a pause, she said, "You look like someone who has many stories." Lona shrugged. "All old mothers have stories." Zara leaned forward. "Some stories can heal other people, Ma. Have you ever thought of sharing?" That question stayed with Lona long after Zara left. "Some stories can heal other people," she repeated to herself while washing her clothes by the stream. That night, she found her small, forgotten notebook at the bottom of her bag. Years ago, she used to write short prayers and thoughts in it, little letters to herself. Her shaky fingers traced the old ink. Slowly, she began to write. She wrote about the early mornings in the market, about each child's first cry, about hunger and hope, about the day her husband left. Tears fell on the pages, but she did not stop. The next time Zara came, carrying more supplies, she found the notebook on the small table. "You wrote?" Zara asked, eyes lighting up. Lona nodded, shy. "It is just nonsense. Words to keep my heart from breaking." Zara opened the book, read a few lines, and looked up with wonder. "This is not nonsense, Ma. This is powerful." Zara worked with a small nonprofit group that supported women who had been abandoned, abused, or forgotten. One afternoon, she said, "We are holding a women's meeting in town next week. We share food and talk about our journeys. Would you come and read something from your notebook?" Lona almost dropped the plate she was holding.
"Me," she said.
"Stand in front of people?" "No, I am not educated. My English is small." Zara shook her head. "You are educated by life. That is enough. You can speak in the language that is comfortable for you. These women need to hear someone like you." Lona hesitated. She imagined herself sitting among others, speaking her pain out loud. A part of her was afraid. Another part felt a small light begin to glow. "I will try," she said quietly. The hall on the day of the meeting was simple, but filled with warmth. Plastic chairs lined the room, and women of different ages sat, some holding babies, others twisting their scarves nervously. Lona sat in the back, clutching her notebook. When her name was called, "Mama Lona, please come and share." Her legs felt heavy, but she rose. Zara gave her an encouraging nod. Standing in front, Lona cleared her throat. "My name is Lona," she began slowly. "I was a mother of 3 in the town. I worked hard. I thought my children would be my reward." She paused, her voice shaking. But life did not go the way I planned. As she spoke, the room grew quiet. Some women leaned forward. Others wiped their eyes. Lona did not read every word. She simply allowed her heart to pour out, mixing language, tears, and small smiles. When she finished, the room stayed silent for a long moment. Then a woman in the front row started clapping. Another joined. Soon, the whole hall was filled with applause. One lady stood up, tears streaming down her face. "Mama, you just told my story," she said. "I thought I was alone." Another whispered, "God bless you. You put words to what I couldn't say." Lona felt something shift inside her, a heavy stone lifting, replaced by a gentle strength. After the meeting, several women gathered around her. "Can you talk to us again next time? Can we call you if we feel like giving up?" Zara watched from the side, a proud smile on her face. Later, she said quietly, "You see, Ma, your pain is not useless. It is a seed." One invitation became 2. 2 became 5. Soon, Lona found herself traveling with Zara's group to nearby communities, sitting with women in circles under trees, inside small halls, and even in hospitals. She did not call herself a speaker. She simply sat and spoke like a mother, telling her journey without pretending to be perfect. "I am not a saint," she would say with a soft laugh. "I was angry. I wanted to curse my children, but God held my tongue." She taught women small things: how to breathe through grief, how to write their feelings, how to stand up from a mat of rejection and still cook food for themselves with dignity. People began to ask for her by name. "Will Mama Lona be there?" someone would ask. "If she is coming, I will come." Zara also had a friend who ran a local radio program focusing on real-life stories. One day, she said, "Ma, would you agree to share your story on radio? Many women cannot come to our meetings, but they listen." Lona panicked. "Radio?
No.
That is too big." Zara laughed. "You will just sit and talk like we always do. Forget the microphone." After much persuasion, Lona agreed. On the day of the recording, she sat in front of the microphone, fingers shaking. The host greeted her warmly. "We have a special guest today, Mama Lona, a woman of courage and wisdom." Lona smiled nervously. "I am just a mother who survived," she replied. When the program aired, the station was flooded with calls. "This woman spoke my life," one caller said. "Please bring her again." Another whispered, "I was thinking of ending everything. After hearing her, I want to try one more time." The radio invitations continued. Someone recorded a video of one of her talks on their phone and shared it online. Slowly, clips of the wise village mother spread beyond their region. People messaged Zara's organization, asking, "Who is this woman?" A small blog wrote an article titled, "She was abandoned, but she found her voice." One day, a social worker from the city called. "We would love for Mama Lona to speak at our annual women's conference," she said. "We can arrange transport and a small honorarium." Lona stared at the phone, stunned. "People in the city want to hear me?" she asked Zara. Zara nodded. "Yes, Ma. They want the truth, not polished grammar." Lona looked at her reflection in the small cracked mirror. For the first time in a long while, she saw not just a tired face, but a woman rising from ashes. Meanwhile, life for her children in the city was not as golden as they had imagined. Rico lost his job after his company downsized. He tried starting a small business with borrowed money, but poor choices and bad friends swallowed everything. Miri moved in with a man she thought would marry her, but he left when things got difficult, taking most of her savings. Taro, the youngest, struggled to keep balance, carrying quiet guilt for not fighting harder when they sent their mother away. One evening, he sat alone in his tiny room, scrolling through his phone, trying to distract himself from anxiety. A short video appeared on his timeline, a clip of an older woman speaking into a microphone, her eyes shining with calm strength. The caption read, "She was abandoned by those she loved, but she refused to die small." Taro almost dropped the phone. "That voice," he whispered. He turned up the volume. The woman on the screen said, "Sometimes the people you give everything to will leave you when your hands are empty. But that does not mean you are empty inside. Your value is not in who stays. It is in who you become after they go." She laughed softly. The camera moved closer to her face. Taro's heart pounded. "Mama," he breathed. It was her. The same lines at the corner of her eyes, but her back was straight, her voice firm. He watched the video again and again before rushing to call Rico and Miri. "You need to see something," he told them.
Now.
They met in a cheap restaurant, sitting at a corner table under noisy fans. Rico looked tired, his once proud shoulders slumped. Miri's makeup was carefully done, but there was a dullness in her eyes that no powder could hide. "What is this emergency?" Rico muttered. "I have things to do." Taro ignored him and placed his phone on the table. "Just watch," he said. He played the video. Their mother's voice flowed out, filling the small space. Miri's lips parted. "Is that?" she began. Rico leaned closer, his expression tightening. They listened as Lona spoke about pain, loneliness, and choosing not to hate. When the video ended, silence pressed between them. Finally, Miri whispered, "She sounds different." Rico swallowed hard. "So she went and became a public speaker?" he said, half bitter, half stunned. Taro's eyes shone with tears. "She became more than we thought she could be," he replied. "Without us." The weeks that followed were restless for the three of them. They kept stumbling on their mother's voice. Another clip, a quote, an interview. In one video, a young host asked, "Mama, what would you say to those who abandoned you?" Lona paused, then answered, "I would say thank you, because losing them forced me to find myself." That sentence left a heavy stone in each of her children's stomachs. One night, after a particularly difficult day, Rico finally said what the others had been afraid to voice. "We need to see her," he murmured. Miri nodded, tears sliding down her cheeks. "But what?" Lona froze where she sat, her hand resting lightly on her notebook. For a long moment, she simply breathed, steady and controlled. She had imagined this day, sometimes with anger, sometimes with longing, sometimes with indifference, but she never truly believed it would arrive. "Do you want to see them, Mama?" Suri asked quietly. Lona closed her eyes before answering. "Let them come in." The door opened slowly, and her three children stepped inside, as if entering a sacred place. Rico walked in first, his pride nowhere to be found. Miri followed, her eyes red and trembling. Taro came last, head bowed, hands shaking. No one spoke at first. They only stared, the children seeing a woman transformed, and the mother seeing the faces she once believed she would die without seeing again. Finally, Rico whispered, "Mama, we are sorry." His voice cracked. "We failed you." Miri fell to her knees beside Lona. "Mama, please forgive us. We were foolish. We were blind." Taro approached slowly, tears rolling freely. "Mama, I never stopped loving you." Lona looked at them, her face calm, her spirit steady. "Stand up," she said softly. "All of you." When they stood, Lona reached for their hands she had once washed, scolded, fed, prayed over, and later cried for. "My children," she said, her voice firm but warm, "I forgave you long before you came. Forgiveness was how I survived. But remember this, love is not chains. It is not obligation. Love breathes when everyone grows." Miri sobbed openly. Rico covered his face. Taro leaned into her shoulder like a child again. After a long silence, Lona continued, "You abandoned me, but life did not.
God did not.
And I did not abandon myself." She looked at each of them with clear, steady eyes. "If you want a relationship now, you will build it slowly, with truth, with respect, with presence." Her children nodded rapidly, clinging to every word. Outside, the afternoon sun poured through the window, lighting her face with a gentle glow, No longer the tired, discarded mother of years ago, but a woman reshaped by pain and purpose. As they stood together in that small room, one truth settled in all their hearts. She had become the woman they once overlooked. And now, the woman they prayed never to lose again. And please don't forget to tap the bell so every new folktale reaches you first. Tell us in the comments what you think about the story. And tell us where you're watching from. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share this beautiful story with friends, family, and loved ones so they too can remember